What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fit, Healthy, and most of all, Happy podcast. I'm your coach and host, Gobble Gobble Josh, here with.
His co-host and co-coach, Gobble Gobble KG, in the house.
And happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hope you have an amazing weekend planned for all the American listeners, I suppose that is. And we thought this was a great opportunity to make an updated Thanksgiving guide. A while ago, Kyle was away somewhere. I filmed an episode on this. I was really proud of it, but it's a little dated. We've learned a lot since then. And also, you might say, I don't have Thanksgiving where I'm from. If you don't have Thanksgiving, this guide applies to any holiday, family event, anytime you're effectively having a feast. So you're going to get a lot of great tips in this episode. And then obviously it's super actionable if you're going into Thanksgiving weekend yourself. But I want to go ahead and start the first thing that's the most important with any family event, big dinner, feast, wedding, exciting thing, is actually your attitude towards it. If you just have this attitude of like, it's pointless, like, oh, this is going to be bad, this buffet is going to mess me up, or this vacation is going to make it so I'm probably going to gain some weight. If your attitude is just like, I'm helpless, I can't do anything, you're probably going to be a little destructive. And maybe you've been there before where you felt like, oh my gosh, I'm overeating. But because I'm already in this position of like hurting myself, I'm just going to eat more. I'm not going to think about it. And you just end up spiraling, truth be told. And Kyle's used the example before. This is the same as me dropping my phone, seeing a little crack and just being like, I may as well drop it some more now, and just slamming it on the ground. It really doesn't make sense. But in the moment, the self-justification can be there. Instead, you can actually work towards having a more positive attitude and even a game plan. And keep in mind, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, because people sometimes will bite back on this because they'll say, it's Thanksgiving, like there's a time with my family. It's a potluck. Everyone's bringing some of their best dishes. Like my grandma makes this amazing thing. My aunt makes this amazing thing. There's these cookies. My daughter-in-law like whatever it is, like you'll have all these different attachments. It's very social. It's very family-based. And it's like, it's an awesome time. And because of that, people will be like, I shouldn't have to give in. I want to be able to do whatever I want. The problem is with anything in life, if you do whatever you want, there are consequences behind that. So you can adjust. Like if you think of a sliding scale, how you want to do it. So on one end of the scale is absolute adherence, not deviating from your plan whatsoever, not having that time be a net negative in any regard. On the other end is just saying, I'm doing whatever I want. I'm eating everything. I'm drinking everything. I'm resting. I'm skipping all the gym, just doing nothing, just saying I'm going to be a menace, if you will. So you can slide that scale. And even for me, like I like to be a little bit closer to the adherence because that's where I feel best. I don't feel good after all these events and things. If I'm bloated and I feel stuffed and I mess up my schedules and I don't work out and I put on a bunch of weight, to me, like I know that's going to make me feel so much worse than just doing things within reason and with balance. But I'll still say, hey, I don't mind going 500 over on Thanksgiving or 1,000 calories over, where I know there'd be a tiny upkick, but I know it's not going to create any long-term damage. So this is where you just need to say, what level am I comfortable with? How can I find that balance and really have a good attitude towards it?
That scale I've never actually heard, but that really stood out to me because there's some moments where I think like on the scale, if it's like a friend's birthday, I'll probably be like full adherence. Like it's not to me like a holiday, or it's not like, it's just a dinner type of thing, right? But then if I'm at an all-inclusive, I might be a little bit more towards the middle, and then like you can use it to your discretion. And I think that's such a powerful thing to think about, because most people, when it comes to these specific events, like whether it's a wedding, a friend's birthday, obviously holidays, there's lots of those. You could even say Halloween, you could say Easter, you could say Christmas, like whatever it is that you're celebrating. What I did was I sat down and I thought about how many of those events there could be that could just, if you say I don't care, like it's a specific event, I'm doing whatever, there could be 30, like a minimum of 30, but for some people closer to 50, right? It could be a promotion. Even if you go away on a trip, that could be 7 days. Like if you do a week-long one, if you do 2, that could be 14 days. You get the point. And that's where I used to be that person. Like it was years and years ago. I just remember when there would be a specific event, I would use it as a reason to just like deviate from my calories. And I'd say, oh, well, I want to celebrate. Like, let's just go nuts. And then you'd eat like 17 pieces of pizza and just feel horrible. Now I'm like, hey, I'll have 3 and I'll fit in my calories and still feel great. And the thing is, the mindset is everything. And like, I'll be honest, there will be people who will make remarks at some point. Like, there'll be a time you may show up at Thanksgiving, say no to a piece of pie if that's like something you don't want to incorporate, which we'll talk about in a bit. And there will be someone who says, "Hey, Kyle, just live a little. Like, what's one day?" And those are the people who typically will just not exactly understand it. So I think it's so important to have a plan based off of your situation and really, really work on your attitude. Because I know a lot of people who just blow every specific event and wonder why they're not succeeding. But then there's 45 different events throughout the year. It could be a promotion, it could be something they're celebrating at work. There will be so many of those days. And if you can find a way to work on your attitude for these big days, it helps you in so many different ways.
Yeah, and attitude and belief, like Kyle said, like you need to believe you can navigate this. Maybe this is a rough time of you every year and you find you go off the deep end and it just things get worse and worse all the way into the new year. Like instead take control of this and start to create a plan like Kyle said. So there's two plans we're going to need. We're going to need a plan for our movement, we're going to need a plan for our nutrition. So what's interesting about Thanksgiving in general is usually it's associated with a lot of time off, which is nice as well. A lot of rest, a lot of relaxation, a lot of football, a lot of sports, and it's just like a cozy, nice fall, relaxing time, if you will. So because of that, it's often not isolated to one meal. It could be multiple meals across different families. It could be a week of time. It could be work events. Like it could be quite a lot of different things. So we want to be on top of both our nutrition and our movement. So I want to start with some movement tips. So know tentatively what's going on. When are you going to dinners? Where are they? What times are they? Sometimes it's nice not be too worried about scheduling, but the more you can visually see, if you're like, oh my gosh, I got a dinner Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I got 3 dinners back to back and they're pretty much all day. Let's say they're big family events. You're driving farther away to family. You know, earlier in that week, you got to be on it. You got to be getting your weight sessions in. You got to be in front of it. Is it realistic to lift on any of those days you have those dinners? Because if you can eat before a dinner, that's going to balance you as well. You're going to feel some accomplishment. You're not going to want to throw that all to the side. Additionally, if you're in a situation where you can't do that, it's like, can you go out on a long walk? One thing I love doing, even with our families, we'll go on walks. We'll have like a family walk. We'll all go walk or on a hike or something like that. I know turkey trots are another amazing thing where you can do like 5 kilometer walk and you can mix in some activity. And I'm big on earning your rest. Resting just all day gets old, but when you've done a lot and you're like, oh, I can really just take this time to enjoy it, like the more you can create a little bit more control with your movement and your exercise and not see this time as a total write-off, it can be better. And once again, there's that scale. You could be realistic. If you lift 5 times a week normally, you do 10K steps a day, and you're like, I want to let off a little bit this week and I'm only going to do 6,000 steps a day and I'm only going to lift 3 times in the week. That's totally within your power. And some people would say, oh, there's no point in doing that. Like just do nothing. That's not true at all. Doing something is always so much better about doing nothing. And when you have a plan, stick to it. Be proud of that plan. Yeah, you could do more. Yeah, you could do less, but that's where you really have to evaluate what's best for you. So those are my top movement tips. What are your top tips for nutrition, Kyle?
So nutrition is a funky one, right? Because a lot of people, and I'll tell you my biggest mistake I've made in the past, and I'm sure some of you can relate. Because fasting to me is not the best option, and the reason I say that is it's once again, I've been through it a few different times. I would just have like nothing. And then once that specific meal comes up, it's not good. It's not ideal. I'll be the first one up. I'll be the first one to grab my plate. And I'll even find myself like truthfully grabbing the wrong stuff just because I've been fasting for so long. I've been thinking about food and it's just not the most ideal. So I have a question written down here that you can ask yourself. Let's just say if it's a specific day, how can I fill myself up as much as possible throughout the day for the lowest amount of calories? And even for us, like we recently had the Thanksgiving dinner, and I just remember on that exact day, I had my typical breakfast, which is my Greek yogurt, close to 50 grams of protein because I added on extra yogurt. I had a Fairlife shake around lunch, and then just like a really big low calorie salad with lots of veggies. So I was able to keep myself like super full with like a ton of water. I had some sparkling water, and I didn't actually have like a ton of calories, but I was actually pretty close to 100 grams of protein by the time dinner came. And then I just had a ton of turkey and then obviously the great meal. But to me, this is just a much better strategy than like going into it where you're just so starved that that's all you think about. And then as soon as you grab that plate, like you just load it on with stuffing and just, once again, you can have that stuff absolutely. And that's something we'll talk about. But I just think it's such a better idea to have a game plan like ahead of schedule where it doesn't leave you thinking about it all day, and you can actually properly just feel okay during the day as well. So that's kind of what I personally recommend, and it's something that I do for a lot of these different events, because even still, when I leave a bunch of calories, it gives me so much room to work with when it comes to that dinner. And like where some people struggle is they will still go about their day, but then they won't have as much protein. And then let's just say you happen to go into a meal with like 40 grams of protein during the day. It gets tough to actually still do great things. You won't be as full. You'll 100% be missing your protein intake for the day. So if I can think, how can I get as much protein as possible, get as many veggies, fill myself up to the point where it's like I haven't had my entire 2,000 plus calories for the day, that's the best approach. And that's usually what I'll use before these big meals.
Yeah, it's very hard to get ahead when you're already behind. So how you start that day is everything. And that's where like in a perfect world, you're going to wake up at normal time. You're going to have a really healthy breakfast. You're going to get a great workout in. And then as Kyle had said, I made that mistake too, where I would leave myself overly full. I'd be like erratic and I'd be like so hangry and you just want to eat anything and everything and you lose a little bit of that control. Whereas I find like as someone who eats a lot of food, I'm more clear when I'm actually not starving. When I'm already like, I've had a bit of food, I'm more intentional, like, okay, what do I really want? Having a reasonable portion. I love the example too that the first same bites will taste the same as the next 20. So even if something's great, like just being reasonable with it and having more balance is huge. Even sometimes you can pre-log in these situations. So turkey's usually a staple. So I always like to get a lot of turkey. So you could pre-log in a bunch of turkey, have your breakfast, have your lunch, know you hit your protein, know some of the statics. Like maybe Kyle makes a great stuffing every day. I have a general idea of what's that's like, so I can put that in. Maybe someone else makes a really amazing apple pie and I want to save the calories for a slice of that. So I can see all this and I can say, okay, how many calories do I have left? How many am I comfortable going over? If you're going to drink, how many drinks are you going to have? Setting a hard limit there. Like you can get super in front of it and have a lot of control. And then you can be like, okay, I got 1,000 calories for anything and everything I want. And then you can just go spending. It's like having a budget, having guilt-free money to spend. So you can put yourself in a situation where it's easy. And Thanksgiving, in our opinion, is one of the easiest ones to navigate because a lot of it's centered around, like I said, turkey, veggies, carb sources. So you can be really flexible and work with what's in there. Everyone will have exceptions, and I know some things will be worse than others. But at a core, one thing I like to do is like I like to start by loading up on a ton of protein and a ton of veggies, similar to what we said previously. So that first plate will be really heavy in like the protein, the veggies, and this rule goes for buffets as well. So I'll always start here. And then as I get to my second plate, that's when I'll get more fun things. And you'll notice if you take your time eating it, you use best practices, put your cutlery down, savor the meal, take nice bites, don't just stuff your face for no reason. You'll notice even that first plate won't be too caloric. And then when you go back up for the fun stuff, you'll be able to eat a lot more of a reasonable portion of it. Another thing I recommend is having like a 1 to 2, maybe even 3 plate max. Don't just be snacking and grazing all day. If you're just roaming around eating this, that, grabbing some chips, grabbing any drink anyone gives you, just eating buns that are on the table, like that's how you get pretty messed up and that's how calories really get out of control. So instead, like enjoy that meal. It's a meal with family. Like enjoy and savor every bite. Have these tentative rules where you're like, okay, I'm going to make it fit on 2 plates. You can take photos of your plates if you're logging the extras after. So you can have a lot of control with that. And by following that rule of order of like getting in a ton of protein, a ton of veggies, like protein and veggies are protein's full of protein, veggies are full of fiber, and that's going to help sate you, which means it'll help you feel more full and in control, which is absolutely amazing. And then, like I said, you can have reasonable amounts of those extras. And instead, if you know you go crazy with dessert or you have a big sweet tooth, like maybe Kyle loves it, so he says, I'm going to have 2 slices of pie. That's what I like. And you can kind of also know what you want to indulge in more, like where you want to go a little heavier and where you want to go less. Do you want to talk a bit to that, Kyle?
I think it's so important to have your values, right? And I always even look at going out to eat as an example. Unfortunately, if I'm going out to eat, I can't just have everything and like make the right decisions and be on track, right? When you think of a restaurant, as much as I'd love every appetizer on the menu, a big entree, a couple drinks, and a dessert, I usually have to pick and choose like what do I value. And it's funny because I'm not a pie guy. So this past year, that was the thing that was had there. And I actually didn't even end up having any dessert, which is crazy because I'm usually a dessert person, but I just realized it just wasn't what I valued. And so I didn't have it, but I had a lot more of the turkey. Like I actually genuinely value turkey. I probably had over 100 grams of protein from that, but I think that's so important to just understand what you value and like what it is that you feel like you would miss out on. Like that's another thing. If this event goes by, this specific day where grandma's cookies are there and grandma made like this amazing stuffing and you just genuinely feel like you missed out, and like obviously it could hurt them depending on the person, of course, but it's just like, what do I enjoy? Like what do I want, and what's something that if I look back on like the memories I had, the foods that was able to try, I think that's a really big difference than just like, oh, I just stuffed my face and I had everything there and I feel horrible and I regret it, right? So like having your values and the things that you genuinely enjoy, and you would feel like bad if you, and there's some things for me, right? And that's super important. But even just thinking back to this past Thanksgiving and the things that I'm trying to get better at as well, I did this exact plate, this plate trick that we talk about is like protein and veggies. And for the first plate, it's funny because there's like a specific bun that's always at these Thanksgivings where it's like I could have 13 of them, like they're just so good, but I didn't put any on my plate. I had an entire like plate full of turkey, and then there's like a little broccoli mix up salad thing in there, and then like some veggies. And then by the time I got to my second one, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, I just grabbed one bun. I even forgot I didn't have any stuffing, which is funny. I kind of regret that, but I was just busy taking care of my daughter, and I just remember there was a lot going on. But I was just like, when you pick a first good plate instead of just like grabbing and loading it with like tons of carbs and tons of fats, typically you end up being more full afterwards, and you end up making even better decisions. And I think that's pretty important to consider, right? Because the second plate often I find, and especially this is for me, I choose what I really am like, hey, I value this and this is something I want to try. So I'll just get a little piece of it. Whereas if I just fill up the first one with everything I see, especially if I am a little bit hungry, like don't get me wrong, even if I do a protein fast and I go to these events, I still am a little hungry, and I'm thinking about it. I'm excited for everything. But to me, this is just the greatest approach, and you feel great afterwards. And it's just to me a fantastic way to navigate it. That's what I've been trying to do, and I'm going to continue to try to do for specific events going forward.
Yeah, I love Kyle's point of clarity. Like, I'm sure you've heard those quotes, like, I'm so hungry, I could eat my shoe. Like, especially if you're someone who loves food, it's so easy to get there. And, like, the worst mistakes you can make too are just filling up on empty calories. So drinking a ton, drinking before you eat as well. It's going to make you eat way more. Just eating a bunch of garbage, snacking, like we said, eating the wrong foods first. Like if you're just eating chips, you'll eat chips all day, and then you're like, I don't want turkey or veggies, right? So just following these rules is good. Having a little bit of patience, it'll also make you appreciate that food more. And the best part too is like you're avoiding all the aftermath of these decisions. So if you're drinking a ton, you're going to be hungover. If you're overeating a ton, you're going to be really lethargic and maybe feel sick and feel so stuffed and wonder why you did that. You're going to have to wake up with that feeling of being like, oh, what did I do? The scale's all messed up. So the more you can just identify and have a plan and get in front of it. And like Kyle said, like if you don't like drinking, and don't drink. If other people drink, say, I'm not drinking today, but I'm pumped for dessert. And even for me, like I'm not a big sweets person, to be honest. So like to me, I'd rather have a couple more of those buns or have extra stuffing or put some extra gravy on there. Like those are the things I care about. So it's like cake's cool, pie's cool, but like for the most part, I'm just like, I'm okay. Like, no thanks. Because to me, like the calories would better be spent elsewhere for me. So don't feel like you just need to eat and do everything just to go through the motions. Like ask yourself what you're excited about, what you actually like. You'll notice when you follow in these frameworks, and no foods are off limits. There's nothing you can't have. There's no binge mentality. There's no like doing horrible and overeating here and then suffering for the next 2 weeks trying to get the weight off. Like there's just so much more value, and you can start to like a little bit more to the middle of that sliding scale we spoke of. You could say, I could have even done better next year. Like I don't mind. Or you could say, I'm going to start more rigid and I can get looser later. So these are all the things you want to walk through, and that's why we wanted to bring this up. And then the biggest thing after too is having a plan for that next week. So you don't want to let this roll into something bad. You immediately want to be able to get back to your plan. Maybe you have meal prep following that. If you have leftovers, like maybe intentional with what leftovers you get. Like people offer me all the time, like, hey, we have an extra 80 cookies. You want to bring these home? And I'll always say no, because you're going to eat these cookies, right? Like, it's no good for me. It's no good for my kids. It's no good for anyone, because you're going to work your way through these 80 cookies. So I'll just try to keep it out. I'll always try to take like the higher quality good foods, and usually I'll have like a lot of turkey, mashed potatoes, and veggies, which I love. And I'll have like meal prep for the whole next week. That'll make it easy. I'll always make a point just to jump back into my set schedule. So doing all these things, just it takes the guesswork out and it makes the journey super easy. And like I said, I think there's no better feeling than being able to enjoy all these foods, being able to have a great time, being able to spend time with family, have no restrictions, and have no remorse. Like, if you can't see how that doesn't make it 100 times better, I don't know. Like, you're missing out. Like, same thing. Like, I've used the example before. If you think you just want to let loose and have whatever you want, it sounds cool in theory, but there's always a consequence to that, right? And it's the same example with my kids. If they just eat as many sweets as they want, their stomach's going to hurt, right? Like, so we know better, so we got to stop them. So you got to use that same gauge and that same thinking for yourself. And I promise you, when you do this once, you're like, oh my gosh, like, I don't need to gain 5 to 10 pounds every Thanksgiving. Like, this isn't hard whatsoever. And if you want even more ability to stick to this and to see it through, we will absolutely help you with that. We will coach you right through this time. If you sign up today, we'll get you rocking and rolling ASAP so that you can navigate through this, and also for that plan after, so you can know you have a coach on your side. Even if you do mess up, because we're human and you might mess up, even if you have these plans, it's something you need to work on, and you get back to the drawing board and you say, what went wrong? Where can I improve? And that's how you can actually get better. But having someone on your side to hold you consistent to that, to hold you accountable, to help you think higher, to help you solve for your specific situation. Like, I know some people will say, we all eat pizza for Thanksgiving. It's something we do. There's solutions for any situation. And that's why we use the Freedom Formula nutrition style, because it works. It works for any situation, any variable, any event, any traveling. So we'll be on your side to make that happen. We have our Black Friday pricing going on right now, which is literally the best deal we've ever had. 40% off, Colossus hoodie guaranteed. That's over $100 of value right there. So this is your chance to join in for that. Join in for the New Year's challenge and get a ton of support. So we want to thank you for tuning in. Hit us up with that keyword Black Friday to our Instagram. Take advantage of that incredible deal so we can work one-on-one and get you your guaranteed results. We'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.